So you just won $10,000.
I'm going to Disneyland.
Disney World might be a little better.
Right.
Tell me what you've won for, and just a little bit about the pieces.
Well, the series of stories that I wrote was about the environmental consequences of the things we buy in the U.S. that come from China, particularly what the impacts are in the places it's manufactured and the places where the raw materials come from. In the end, I ended up looking at cashmere and timber and oil, because these are three of the things that China has come to dominate in the world's trade. But we probably don't think about it if you walk into the store and you just pull something off the shelf.
This might be kind of interesting for young budding journalism students out there. So you found out that China dominates in cashmere, but did you have any idea where it comes from or how in China?
No, I had no idea. This sort of started with a statistic. In cashmere's case, I didn't know anything about the way it was produced.
Did you know it was from goats?
I didn't in the beginning. The number of goats has risen many times over the last several decades, and there's simple reasons for it. It became economically advantageous to raise goats versus raising camels or sheep. And what happened was this very sort of subtle ecological balance, which had been in place for thousands of years, literally, in the remote parts of Mongolia, were suddenly sort of incrementally tipped out of whack. And you started to see the effects rolling downhill, and you could measure it, and that's what made it a compelling case. So in timber's case, China went from just being the source of wood to actually being a recipient of wood and then manufacturing it and sending it on to third countries.
You had this idea, it became bigger and bigger, and you were just allowed to do it.
It is rare in journalism today, particularly in foreign correspondence. This was a dream opportunity as a story, and I'm lucky to be at a place that supports that kind of work. I mean, I had an idea. I didn't know if it was going to take 2 months to do it or if it was going to take 6 months to do it.
What do you say to all the young people out there who say, well, foreign news is dead in the U.S.?
I think the truth is that foreign correspondence is, as a business, is going through a fundamental change, and we don't know what it's going to look like at the end of it. But I actually think that the rise of the blogosphere and the ability for individuals to participate in the discussion of news in a much more immediate and substantive way has shown that, in fact, people do care about foreign news, because a lot of the things that are discussed online have to do with America's position in the world today and the way that it's interpreted at home by our politicians and by opinion leaders. So if anything, I think there's a greater premium today on being able to gather that information, which is difficult and it's expensive and it's indispensable.
Do you have a favorite blog that's in English that people could read here but out of China?
There's a very good blog which is called Nonviolent Resistance, and it's written by a very smart and very careful writer, so he's able to talk about substantive issues. He's a Chinese journalist.
Great. Okay, so what do you say to a young college student who says, I could be a lawyer, I could be a doctor, I could be a businessman. What I'd really love to do is be a foreign correspondent.
The truth is, being a foreign correspondent is a dream job. And it's a dirty secret that nobody ever wants to really let outside of the business, because it is an amazing way to see the world. There's a reason why a lot of us get into it, I think, and never leave, is because it's a lifelong education. And that's the worst cliche, but in this particular case it happens to be true.